Greetings, this is Artie from Artifact Electronics. So I came to do part 3 today, and I found this thing sitting on the asteroids. Looked like it decided to procreate. Kind of interesting. It does. I mean, its child is actually, looks more like a stand-up. And I don't have a stand-up arcade asteroids around here, so I don't know what went on. I mean, this room is, you know, there's a pinball machine, there's several test instruments, musical instruments, all sorts of wild and crazy stuff. So I don't know what went on in here when I was gone, but there you go. Now this thing is actually functional. It pretty much uses an LCD raster type display, which doesn't look anything like the original. Ironically, I picked this up at Walmart, and with a $3 discount, it was still $17, which amounts to half the price of the cocktail table itself. But I just couldn't say no. So enough of that. Let's jump in and see what else has been done. Now, this is probably a good angle for me to show you one little change that I made, and that is I replaced the T-moldings that go around the perimeter of the top, because the ones I had were, first of all, pretty chewed up, and second of all, what had happened when you went to the corners near the controls, what had happened was that they had contracted over here, probably because there's a lot of monitor heat coming here, and essentially these round corners had turned into diagonal straight corners, and there was no way to fix that because the plastic had shortened, and there was no way to fix it. So I pulled it out, and I got T-moldings, not very expensive, and basically put the new stuff back in. It looks pretty nice. But the one thing to be careful with when you're replacing T-molding, be very careful when you remove it, because the notch that is cut around the whole top that the tail of the T fits into, you can easily damage it when pulling out the old T-molding because it's got barb-like things on it. So when removing this, be very careful. Remove the old one very slowly, and you may have to fill out the slots a little bit with like a piece of electrical tape or something, so that the new T-molding can actually grip this properly and fit in there and stay in there. The time has come to take care of the biggest cosmetic defect on this game, and that is the glass, which I showed you earlier. Just a little reminder here, this is what the surface looks like. It's really bad. I mean, it's not a cosmetic issue anymore of a couple of scratches here. There are hundreds of scratches on this thing, and I tried, as I explained earlier, I tried from really minor ways of fixing this, such as using a automotive headlight cleaner, which didn't make a difference, all the way up to using brass cleaner and sandpaper, but nothing could touch it. So the glass is pretty much, this glass is, it's not a total loss because it'll make a nice spare part for when an asteroids turns up that doesn't have any top glass at all. But as far as a playable machine and a machine that you put in your collection, this thing is a total loss. You can also see that the printed artwork is partially gone, and everything that is left is flaking pretty badly. If you look at it cross, it starts flaking off in front of your eyes. So that doesn't do us any good either. I was hoping I could clean up the glass and maybe remove the artwork from underneath with automotive paint reducer. That'll take it off really quickly. But because of the top scratches, there's not much more that can be done. Now, I started to order a few parts, and what I got was, well, let me take this one off, and the black paper. and show you what I got. And that is this. This is all of the artwork printed on a pretty thick mylar sheet. And if you look at it closely, it looks a bit cloudy right now, but that's because there's a protective film all over on both sides of this underlay, as it is called, and that will replace the graphics perfectly. And I guess we're halfway there. So then we got to go and procure a glass for this thing. So here it is. I checked online to see if I could maybe buy a glass that didn't have a whole lot of scratches on it, but the artwork was flaking off, and I could just clean off the artwork and put it on top of the underlay. But these shape glasses were used in several games, but I couldn't even find any for sale. There were some for sale by private parties or on private websites and stuff like that, but we're talking about several $100s, and I'm not going to spend several $100s to get a blank piece of glass. So I visited a couple of local glass stores, and you can probably see with the little cork bumpers on the corner, that's a piece of glass sitting on top of the underlay. And I had it custom cut. It is tempered glass, of course. And the way they do it is they have to cut plain glass and then they temper it. And they told me it was going to take 2 to 3 weeks, but somehow I got lucky. And 4 days later I got a call that my glass was done. They did a great job. The corner radii match. It's exactly the same thickness, the same color. Well, it's clear. And of course it is tempered. Tempered glass is very interesting because it gives you a very hard surface. You will see tempered glass on the play fields of most pinball machines. And I've witnessed small adults and not so small adults sitting on a pinball machine. You can see the glass bend down, but there's no cracking, no breaking, nothing like that. So generally you're safe with it. The difference is that in an application such as this one, there is a rigid surface underneath the glass. So if you put a lot of pressure on it, it'll try to bend, but there's really no place for it to bend. And so you got to be more careful on a flat surface like that because the potential of it breaking is a little bit higher. But still, this glass is really, really strong. The only way where it isn't strong is if you take a hammer, a metal hammer, and you hit it on the side, like over here. It will immediately shatter into 1/100 of small pieces of glass. And they're also a little bit temperature sensitive. So if you put a cold beer and a really hot taco right next to each other, don't be overly surprised if the glass again disintegrates into many pieces. But in general, these hold up well. And here's the glass. I obviously need to clean the glass very well, remove the protective film from the underlay, and then put it all together. Earlier on I mentioned that basically whatever holds down the whole top, the glass, and in this case the underlay, is these things had corner clips on each of the 4 sides that held everything in place. But when I got the machine, the glass was taped down and there were no corner clips. Now they are available, but when I went through the machine and I took out the coin box, there was a bag of stuff in there. And what that bag of stuff contained were all the corner clips and all 16 screws. So I have that. I cleaned them up a bit. They're still rusty. But hey, I got the original clips with it, and I didn't even have to buy any more parts. The legs, of course, were very rusty, but I steel wooled them and got the worst of it off. They'll need a repaint, but I'll wait till the weather warms up a little bit and then probably sand them down completely and just using spray paint, spray them. The worst part was these bolts, which were completely rusted, a real eyesore. I mean, even though this whole leg thing was rusted, these things still stood out because they were 4 times as rusted as the rest. And I kind of figured, let's go to the hardware store and buy some. But these are Torx screws, and I couldn't find replacements for them. All I could find was hex head screws in silver, and those looked horrible on here. So what I did was I looked up ways to fix this, and I found a couple of videos, but on YouTube. But the essence of it is bathe them in vinegar overnight, and things will look a whole lot better. And that's exactly what I did. Take a water bottle, throw all the bolts in there, get yourself a bottle of the cheapest vinegar you can find, cover all the bolts, close the bottle, shake it a bit, and let it sit overnight. And lo and behold, they're not fully clean, but you could see, I mean, this is how they came out without me doing any wire brushing or anything additional to them. Now, I did the same thing to the corner clips, but I guess they spilled so much beer on that the actual color, I don't know if you can see that, but the actual black color is gone. There is rust underneath it. I mean, it took up most of the rust. It cleaned it up pretty well, but these are going to have to be wire brushed and repainted, and I'll probably do that at the same time that I'm going to redo the legs on this. So next, let me clean up everything, the underlay and the glass, put everything in place, put the clips back on, and see what she looks like. Well, there she is. Everything went into place. Things look really good, except now that I have glass that is actually clear. You can see all the defects on the plexi diffuser, and so that plexi diffuser is going to have to be replaced, but we'll get to that. That's the easy part. Other than that, things look really nice. One thing you may notice that the legs usually have end caps on them, and those end caps were gone. I ordered some from Outer Mongolia, and about 2 weeks after ordering, I get an email that said, hey, your end caps are stuck in customs, and they're going to be delayed by 2 weeks. How the hell does this guy know that they're stuck in customs over here? But anyway, I paid a grand total of $3 in shipping for them, and we'll just have to wait till those get here. The access panel needed some work. It had been broken into, and I had to replace a bunch of wood in there, straighten the hinge on the bottom, and put a new lock into it. But that works fine now. And let's see, other than that, gives you a good view of the machine from all sides. The only problem I ran into was when I was trying to put these corner clips on, it was an extremely tight fit. And going onto glass, I really didn't want to force it. I did measure the original glass and the new glass, and they were the same thickness. I mean, there is the Mylar underlay, but that virtually has no thickness. So what I think happened is the wood underneath the top part must have swelled a little bit. So what I did was I sanded off an area where the clips fit in underneath the cabinet, about 2 or 3 business cards thick, and that fixed it, because now I could put the clips in using no force, and it came out really nicely. And there you have the game. The monitor does look good now that everything is clean. And it'll look even better when the plexi will get replaced. So, there you have it. And finally, the total cost involved. You already know that I paid $32 for the game. The T-mold I bought for the top part was $10. The cap kit for the monitor was $15. The graphics underlay was $45. The glass I had custom made, $82. Shop supplies. Now this should really say other, but I always wanted to put a shop supplies line item on things on my accounting, because I always do that to you when you take your car in. There's a line that says shop supplies $35, so I'll just do the same thing with no explanation of what they are. But that's basically cleaning supplies, a couple more capacitors for the CPU board, pieces of wood. I mean, I had most of the stuff, but I might as well charge myself for it. And then last was the shipping for the parts I ordered. And so our grand total for this Asteroids machine is $226 US. You will notice the absence of a labor line over here, but this was a labor of love, so the labor didn't cost anything. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you think my effort was worth it. And of course, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. There's more crazy stuff coming up. Thanks for watching. See you later. I just realized I haven't even shown you the machine in operation. So here's a view of what it does. That's close. Son of a... He shot me off screen. Let me at least clear one screen here. Otherwise it'd be too embarrassing. There you go, but that's so much fun I can't stop now. Hey. All right, that's enough. But as you can see, it works.